Well, welcome back. I'm in my kitchen because, as those of you that live in the UK will know, we're in the sub-zero temperatures. And I went out into my summer house earlier and the thermometer in there said that it was -9. And the app on my phone said -7, which is obviously much more accurate, but it just gives you an indication of how cold it is. Everything is frozen outside. I worry about my birds. I keep putting loads of food out for them, but I've not seen many of them today. I can hear them when you go out there, but I think they're all huddled up in maybe in the bushes and that, where they can get a bit of shelter. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, obviously I'm still working towards finishing the remodeling of the kitchen garden. All my beds are in now, but because of the cold weather I can't get out there to line them and then start filling them, so that's on hold at the moment. Other jobs that I want to do I can't do because they're weather dependent. Now, I drew up a list of jobs that I wanted to achieve before the spring, but just going through each of the jobs on the list, as I say, they're weather dependent. And for instance, I can't paint the outside of the summer house because the weather's not conducive to that. It's far too cold for me to go out there and be lining beds with membrane, stapling it on. It's just unpleasant. And the other main job, and it's a big job that I really need to do before the spring, is to completely clean the inside of the greenhouse and disinfect everything. But obviously I don't want anything wet out there because it's just going to freeze, or it's going to go mouldy. So really best left until we get some nicer, more mild weather. So just looking at my list of things. So yeah, I'm a bit stuck really at the moment, which is quite frustrating. We've had this cold weather now for the best part of a week. I don't know how long it's going to carry on for, but it's been on and off really throughout the whole of January and just before Christmas as well. So it's been quite tricky making any progress in the garden, but it is happening little by little. So I think what I'm going to do is start planning my seed selection. Now, I've got a load of favourites that I usually just go out and buy every year, but I'm not going to do that this year. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start researching and try and pick more disease resistant varieties of each of the vegetable that I want to grow, because I've been plagued with so much disease in the garden over the last 4 or 5 years, hence why I've remodelled the whole garden, stripped it right back, got rid of everything that was growing. I'm going to start from scratch. So as a precaution, I don't want to reintroduce anything that is likely to pick up diseases quite easily and spread it. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be doing in a minute. The other thing I want to do is, I've got a rough idea what variety of apple I want, but I'm just going to go and check my catalogues again. I want to order a cordon or perhaps another espalier to go on the side fence, which is on the north side, so it would be kind of west facing. I also want to choose a clematis that I want to go on the trellis, which is on the back fence, so that'd be south facing. And I'm actually quite interested in growing a fig. I've always wanted a fig, never had room for it, and I think before I start filling up the garden, now's the time to perhaps look into getting one and working out where it can be positioned. In the meantime, I'm going to finish my coffee and I will show you around outside. It's bitterly cold, but it's also rather lovely. Well, I have a new addition to the garden. As you can see, I've got this little bird box, and the reason I've put it there is because a couple of days ago, let me come over here, I noticed a little blue tit taking quite an interest in this little bug hotel, but obviously the hole at the bottom is nowhere near big enough for a blue tit, so because it was investigating it, it obviously wants to make a nest, so that's why I've installed it. So it's northeast facing as kind of recommended. Well, it's actually more north than northeast, but it's sheltered and it's not in full sun, so fingers crossed in the spring I may have a little visitor. Well, I've just been on my YouTube channel just to make sure that I haven't got any comments that I needed to respond to, and I discovered that I've got 991 subscribers. How fantastic is that? So I'm 9 away from my first 1,000, so I'm really excited, and hopefully I'll meet that milestone in the next few days. So if you're watching this for the very first time, please subscribe and hit the bell icon for future notifications, but also if you like and comment in the section below, it all helps with exposure. And for those of you that have been with me for the past few years, and those of you that regularly comment, you know who you are. I now consider you to be my friends, and it's a real joy to have that interaction between you all. So thank you. I am just so thrilled. I'm not going to waffle. I'm just very happy this morning. Thank you. So as you can imagine, it's getting a bit tiring now having a building site for a garden. So my thoughts have been leaning towards what I should be planting in the spring, and particularly the permanent features that are in the garden. So at the moment, all I've got out there that is permanent is the structure, the landscaping, but I need to think about the plants that I want in there that are going to be the backdrop for the whole garden. So I've already got the climbing rose, which I pruned heavily at the end of the summer to try and retrain that. Hopefully that'll start to bulk up come the spring, and that flowers in very late May, early June, so that'll be some lovely colour. I want to put in a new clematis. The new position will be behind the pond on south facing fence, so I'll get mostly sunlight, so that will be a lot better. And then I want to put in some fruit. So I've decided on a cordon apple. I tend to prefer the coxes for flavour, so I've chosen Ellison's orange, and that will be a cordon, and that will go down the bottom corner on the greenhouse side of the garden, more or less where the summer house used to be. And then between the rose and the apple, I'm going to put in a fig tree. Now, I've chosen brown turkey, which is the most popular variety to grow in the UK. It's vigorous, and I'm going to buy a bush version and then try and espalier it myself. It should take a couple of years, but as I say, it's a vigorous grower, so that should be hopefully quite successful. And that will give me some added interest in the garden that will be all year round. So this is my trusty seed box, and open it. And I've been through it this afternoon, and every packet of seeds now that I've got are within date. Some of these are varieties that have been recommended as resistant to disease. The ones that aren't, then I've researched to find alternatives, which I've ordered. I've also got some Kent blue pea still and the bush bean pongo, which both were given to me by Bill and Val. So if you're watching Bill and Val, thank you. I'm going to try that again this year. And I've also got a couple of these Aquadolce broad beans. I sowed a load in autumn as I normally do, but because we've had the extreme weather, it's killed them all off and I've had to dig them up. So it's such a shame because they were doing so well. But I've bought another packet, and as soon as the freezer's passed, I'm going to be putting those in the ground. It says you can sow them outdoors January and February, so hopefully I'll be able to catch up a bit. So let me turn the camera around and then I can talk to you about what seeds I've ordered. So those of you that have followed me for some time know that I was plagued by the mosaic virus, and hence why I'm remodelling the garden. I've stripped out everything that was growing. I've got new beds, they're raised beds, and I'll be introducing new soil. But if you've never experienced mosaic virus, once it is in the plant, it will turn the leaves yellow and they end up very, very mottled. So it's very, very distinctive, and it'll attack any plant. There's not many that are resistant. There are different types of mosaic virus, and I'm not really sure which one I had in my garden, but it devastated so many plants. It went through my courgettes, it went through my beans, my sweet corn, peas, all the main staples that you want from your garden, I lost. Once it hits, the only thing you can do is remove the plants, bag them up, put them out with the refuse or burn them. Don't ever put it in your compost. Now, it's carried by aphids, but it's highly contagious, and once you've got an infected plant, if you brush past it, it'll stay on your clothes and your hands. And if you're handling different plants and you need to wash your hands between each plant that you deal with, you need to disinfect your tools. So you know, there's a lot you have to do, but say once it's in the garden, it's just almost impossible to get rid of. So this year it's going to be like a clean slate. I've removed everything that was growing in the garden. I've built all my raised beds. I shall be introducing new soil, so hopefully and also now that we've had this continuously long cold sub-zero temperatures, that will also help to kill any diseases and pests. So I'm quite hopeful for the spring, but nevertheless what I've done is I've been doing my research on disease resistant seeds, and quite surprised actually, the beans that I grow, the ones that are recommended actually are the ones that I already routinely grow, such as Cobra and Golden Gate, which are both French climbing beans, or climbing French beans I should say. Also the runner bean, I usually grow Scarlet Emperor, but I've discovered there's an improved version which is known as Scarlet Empire, so I've ordered those in. And there's some other seeds that I've ordered now. Where did I put my list? Come back in a minute. Now I will be putting a list of all the seeds that I'll be sowing, the plants that I'll be growing at the end of this video, but for the sake of the disease resistant varieties, the ones that I've ordered are courgette is Defender F1. It says it's mildew resistant, so that's another issue that most gardeners suffer from time to time is powdery mildew, and that's usually due to the soil not being kept moist beneath the plants, and then if it rains or you water the plants and the leaves are wet, if the spores are disturbed, then that's a good environment for them to grow, and that can take over a plant almost overnight. Leeks, I've got Porbella or Porbea. They're rust resistant because I did have a patch in the garden that was prone to rust, but as you rotate the crops, obviously it was spreading it, so that was another consideration when I was choosing which leeks to grow. I think previously I've grown Leon, but yeah, we're going to go for Porbella. Sweet corn, I usually grow Swift, usually very, very successful, but last year it did get the mosaic virus. But I'm just going to try for a change Rising Sun F1, which says that that is resistant to common diseases. So yeah, that's another one I've ordered. And then in my greenhouse I will probably stick to my usual tomato, so I'll have Roma, which is a plum tomato, and then Shirley, which is the medium size, and probably Gardener's Delight, which is they grow as clusters of cherry tomatoes. I like my chilies and peppers, so I will look at getting mixed peppers. That way you get a variety of different types. It's a bit hit and miss though, because obviously you can't tell from the seed what you're going to be growing, but it's usually quite interesting and the results are pretty good. And chilies, my favourites, Apache, Cheyenne and jalapeno, but I'll try and get Scotch bonnet again as well. What else? No, I think that's it for now. Oh, I haven't mentioned my potatoes. My potatoes, now I'm growing them in buckets and they were very successful. I think I will stick to my regulars, which is the Penton Javelin, which is a first early, the Charlotte, which are second earlies, and my main crop potatoes are Cara. Now the difference between the three is the first and second earlies mature earlier, probably around about June time, and you don't get a large quantity and they don't grow so large. With the main crop, they don't mature till about August, and you can get bumper crops of those, and they can get quite big, and they store very well. So that's the difference between first, second earlies and the main crop. So I think that's it really. So as I say, there's I've listed all the varieties and at the end of the video, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and look forward to the spring.